But first, I want to thank Taal for coming in. And we also have Seth El-Jamal. He is a program director. Seth, welcome to the show. Taal, let's just start very quickly. We've got about 5 minutes before we go to break. Friends of the Children. It's a national non-for-profit organization. What do you guys do?
Right. So Friends of the Children was started 26 years ago in Portland, Oregon, and we just opened our Chicago office a year ago. We were created to work with children, the most vulnerable children, children facing the greatest risk factors and with the least protective factors in their lives. Like you said, the kids that we work with have been exposed to significant trauma, whether it's someone in their family being incarcerated, community gun violence, substance abuse in the home, domestic violence in the home. And when you're exposed to a lot of trauma, your brain, biologically, every human being works this way. You're stuck in survival mode, fight or flight mode, right? You don't feel safe and secure. So you can't access that cognitive thinking part of your brain. And what we do is Friends of the Children brings these children into the program in kindergarten. We identify the children early.
See, that's where you've got to start.
Right?
As early as you can.
Can't wait till teenage years.
Right. No, because they're already gone then.
And then we bring them into the program in kindergarten. They stay in until the end of high school no matter what. There's nothing they can do to be kicked out of the program because teenagers can make very dumb decisions because they're teenagers. Right? Teenagers make dumb decisions. And we pair them with our full-time salary trained staff. We call them friends. They're professional mentors. They're not volunteer mentors. They're friends, mentors that look like them. So their picture of success is someone that looks like them. And they spend 4 hours a week individually with each child in school, at home, and in the community.
And how much does that, just 4 hours a week, how much difference does that make in some of these kids' lives?
Because we're talking about 4 weeks, every single week, every single month, throughout the year, right? So it's that consistency. We're that positive, consistent relationship there for the kids. We don't think that we can fix all of our kids' problems. What we're there is to help identify what the issues are and to advocate for them and to connect them to the community resources that will meet all their needs. Just like I can't fix all of my daughter's issues. I'm there to identify what they need and to tap them into what those resources are. And we work very closely with these children's parents and caregivers as well, who love their children very much, who most often have been exposed to significant trauma themselves.
Absolutely.
And so we need to support them to meet them where they are. And to help engage them in their children's academic life and with their positive parenting skills in general. And we have great results with our kids.
And there's nothing these kids can do to get kicked out of this program.
No, unless they move more than an hour's drive away from our office. So one of our kids this summer moved to Tennessee, so we can't be with them. Our kids tend to be very transient. They move within the Chicago area. We follow them everywhere they go. We have one first grader right now that's on his 4th school since kindergarten, but we go with him wherever he is. So he doesn't have housing security. Correct. So our families aren't obligated to come to us. Our parents leave really, really challenging lives. And if the relationship doesn't work, and this is what Seth, our program director, tells the friends, if the relationship is challenging, it's our fault. We need to make it work because our families are in our program because their families are really difficult. And so we love working with them, and we love the great results we get with them in the long run.
Seth El-Jamal, he is the program director here in the Chicago office. Dream job for you?
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. I've worked with young people on the west and south sides in Chicago for about 18 years, creating fun ways to help specifically young brothers get the resources that they need. And I was always taken aback by how few, honestly, of the guys that I reached out to actually were able to grasp what I was trying to deliver.
Because they don't know what it is for someone to act like that they care about them. You know, that there's somebody out there. I mean, I can't imagine it, but I imagine that some of these boys have never been told by anyone that they love them.
Yeah. And also some of the challenges that they deal with that keep them from accessing the parts of their brain that helps them hear what I'm just trying to say, right? So if I'm trying to teach workplace etiquette to a bunch of young men, let's say 50 guys over the course of 2 years, how many of of that group would actually be able to use what I'm saying. I got used to small numbers, right? The miracle guys, the guys that everybody's proud of. And that frustrated me.
Right.
I want 50 out of 50.
Right.
To have those resources. So I dug into why, some of my guys aren't able to retain or to access or to connect with what I'm saying. And it's because they're thinking about where they have to sit at the dinner table in order not for bullets not to come in the front window.
How hurt are these young men? I want our listeners, the audience here. How hurt are our young men?
I would say the biggest issue for our young men and our young women is not the anger, right? Anger is a secondary emotion. Mm-hmm. Fear is the primary emotion. And anger is that second way, especially for young brothers, that allows them to get whatever they need to get out, right? I can't say I'm scared, but I can be angry and get some of my fear out. Right. So they're walking around our communities, which are amazing, which are awesome, but there's certain pockets where they cannot exist. A young man shouldn't be afraid that it's a nice day outside. Absolutely. But if it is nice outside, we associate beautiful days with walks in the park.
Right.
But our young brothers associate nice days with gunshots, with random acts of violence that, whether they did something or not, exists in their community. And so rolling that back to being 6, how long have they had to survive in that frame of mind? So there's programs that are amazing that are accessing these young men at 12, 13, 14, 15. But the issue, the mindset started at 6. And so what amazed me about Friends of the Children is that this allowed us to begin to address this challenge, not by putting, not by trying to find the solution when a kid has developed 10 years worth of coping skills. Right? Anger and rage is coping. It works somewhere. Hit you first before you hit me works somewhere. But 10 years of creating that is hard to peel back. So Friends of the Children is a dream job for me because I get to begin at the beginning when a young person 6, 5 years old is still developing their sets of coping skills, and I can help my team impart on these young people, both boys and girls, that this is an appropriate way to cope. Here's how you want to cope in a challenging situation. So, yeah.
And those are things that, I just take for granted, because I was blessed to have such a wonderful family, I just don't, it's hard to wrap your brains around it, but it happens. But I'm so glad that you guys are doing this great work. Taal, you look like you wanted to say something real quick.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people, thank you. I think that a lot of people stereotype and blame the people engaged in violence today in the streets, what we consider this youth that are at risk or opportunity youth, and they start alienating them and really blaming them at age kindergarten, right? So many of our kindergartners are acting out and are having trouble managing their emotions in kindergarten. And for some reason, most of the resources, we don't want to deal with it until it becomes
they're as big as you are.
Exactly.
Right.
And these kids, I didn't wait to start parenting my daughters until they were teenagers. Right. They need a lot of help and support along the way.
Right.
And we also want to remember that our parents and caregivers deeply love their children as well, and it's important to work and bring them into the equation as well. And so we're high dosage, high intensity with the children and the families, and that's why we have these great results with these kids. And what's nice is that we're a startup in Chicago, but we're part of an organization that's been around for 26 years that has that proven success.
Okay, so where did this start?
So it started in Portland, Oregon. We have a wonderful founder named Duncan Campbell. He grew up with negligent parents who suffered from alcoholism, and he has a story that he woke up one day when he was 3 years old, and woke up and his parents weren't home, and he went downstairs to the corner bar, and that's where he found them. Duncan is a guy that was born with sort of natural grit and ability to connect to other people, and he made it through law school, and he made it in the business world. He got involved in the juvenile justice system, and at some point he said, why is this the first time we're paying attention to these kids, right? Why isn't someone there to help them when they're young kids? Because we believe that all these kids have hope, opportunity, potential. They just need the proper support. And at first he said he wanted to create a program to help little Duncans, but then he realized, like, I need people that don't have those natural skills right away because they have potential as well. And so he hired a researcher and said, what would be the best program to help these kids? And the researcher came back and said, look, it's expensive, but I know what it is. You need to be involved in these. You need to identify the children early. You need to be involved with them for 12 and a half years no matter what. And it needs to be professional, paid, salary trained, professional mentors that work with them. And that's what he created 26 years ago. And Friends of the Children National received a grant from the federal government 5 years ago, a Pay for Success Social Innovation Fund grant that's given to organizations that are high impact, scalable, and replicable, with the goal to expand to 25 cities by 2025.
Wow.
And Chicago's the 15th city. And
This is awesome. We need you.
So thank you.
We absolutely need you here. How important is it for these kids to get this education and be on a path for good education at an early age so that they will not become a statistic? How important?
We totally understand that education is the key to success. But one of the things that we're trying to help impart on our young people is that you have to care. Kids do what they care about, right? Young adults do what they care about. So if we can reach them at an early age and say, this is something you should care about. If we can help them understand, hey, if you want to be fill in the blank, if you want to be a doctor, here's something you should care about, versus shoving math and science down their throat without giving them a reason.
Right.
The young men, the young ladies that I worked with, in the teenage years, they do what they care about, whether that's being outside, whether that's doing things that they shouldn't, right? They care. So one of the things we try to do in all
Is
facets
instill these values.
is
in
help
them.
them understand, here's what you should care about. Here's why I care about it.
How do people find out more information about becoming a mentor?
Sure. So we add new friends, professional mentors every year. We start the process in about October, hiring process. So friendchicago.org is a great place to go. And Seth or I would be happy to meet with anyone interested.
Absolutely.
All of our friends have at least bachelor's degrees and 2 years experience working with vulnerable youth.